Alright, enough's enough. I've had it with these motherfucking clowns in this motherfucking field. That's what I would have said if this movie had been a little bit less enjoyable. Clown in a Cornfield is an adaptation of the first of 3 books currently by Adam Caesar. Those are young adult horror fiction books. So I think that's actually something important to keep in mind, that this is originally a story, a content that was designed for young adults in mind. Everybody knows, Billy Joe says it all the time, that expectations are the gateway to enjoyment. So I think that's something that you need to keep in mind up front in terms of enjoyment to the movie. Is this is not going to be something that you've seen in the past with clown-related horror movies, where you've got Stephen King's It or Art the Clown and Terrifier. Those are more adult-based entities, whereas this is something that was developed for young adults in mind. So definitely keep that in mind in terms of going into the movie, what you're expecting. If you haven't seen the trailer, I think the trailer does give you a pretty good depiction of what you're going to be going in for. I actually felt like the trailer does a good job of not giving away the entire movie. So that I think that's solid. Now, what nobody can say about this movie is that it is not aptly titled. I'll give it credit. 3 minutes into the movie, and son of a bitch, there's a clown in a cornfield. If you've got what you came for, 3 minutes in, tickets already paid itself, you're good to go. But stick around because there are some really fun kills in this one. This story is decent. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not the greatest thing. It's not really reworking anything, not reinventing the wheel. Doesn't really bring anything new. It actually, believe it or not, reuses some story elements, which is, in my opinion, a really bold move, because the last movie I saw that used the story element that this movie does was horribly received, terribly rated, everybody hated it. But I don't think this one's going to fall to that same fate. I think this one's going to actually do it a little bit better, do what that previous mentioned movie should have done, and I think it does it well enough. Keep in mind, this is a slasher movie. Slashers in their history are not known for having the most in-depth, well thought out, well written plots that have you leave the theater either crying or rethinking your life story or anything like that. It's a slasher movie. It's about killing kids and showing the most gory ways you could possibly do it. With that being said, I do think that it does a good enough job of presenting some sort of narrative that's capable of carrying you through the runtime, which, may I add, I think was perfectly made for this movie. I actually got in an argument with somebody recently about not every movie needs to be 2 hours, 3 hours. Like, not everything's an epic, y'all. Sometimes we just need to have an hour and 30 minutes of people getting killed in bloody, gory fashion. And when you have a movie like this where the plot it's present enough, but it's not really that deep of a meaning, I think it's a really solid runtime. I think that's something that the film does really well. It does a favor to itself, as it doesn't try to make more. With that being said, it is an adaptation of the book, like I mentioned earlier, and I do think that there were a few scenes we actually could have put in there, either in place of some of the things that they did, or maybe even add maybe 10 minutes to it, but getting a little risky there, because again, the runtime is one of the film's strengths, is that it doesn't carry on too long. On that note, for those of you like myself who get extremely pissed off when an adaptation does not properly adapt the source material, I don't think you'll be too angry at this one. I do think it does a relatively good job of adapting that original source material. I didn't read the book all the way through. I only listened to I didn't read it at all, actually. I just listened to the audiobook. But I listened to about half of it, and I didn't want to spoil the ultimate reveal in the book. I wanted to see that on the screen. And I mean, I will say, like I said, I think there's a scene or two that maybe we could have adapted a little bit better, but overall, I really feel like they did a pretty good job, as good of a job as you can do in terms of bringing the paper to the screen. It's not easy, and a lot of the times we have things that work really well on paper and not so well on the screen. Or sometimes maybe we have situations like another certain clown we know, where we did something on the paper that nobody really knows why we did that. What do we need to do that for? A point being, sometimes things either don't work well on screen that they did on paper, or maybe they just didn't need to be in the paper to begin with, and we can correct that. So I can see their vision. I don't really fault them for anything that they did or didn't leave out. But I really thought that adaptation-wise, you'll be pretty pleased with it. You're never going to be 100% pleased, but I think it'll be all right. The only thing I will say is I think that in listening to the audiobook, there were some times where I won't say I was scared, but I definitely felt some of the fear of the characters a little bit better. The movie definitely focuses more on the comedy slasher role as opposed to the thriller slasher role. I don't think you're going to find yourself being very scared by this one unless you are just deathly terrified of clowns for some reason. Maybe past history or you just have had bad experiences. But unless you have something specific to yourself that makes you afraid of clowns, I don't think you'll find too much to be afraid of in this one. It's definitely more of a comedy slasher. A lot of the one of the kills, in fact, actually uses comedy in the moment of two kills at once, and was actually one of my favorite moments of the movie, to be completely honest with you. So it doesn't always have to be scary. Sometimes you can just have a fun slasher, and that's what it does well, and it knows it. And I would like to reiterate, I was really pleased with the kills in this movie. That was honestly the thing, aside from the idea, the look of Friendo himself. The kills were one of the things that I was really looking forward to in this movie, and it did not disappoint one bit. A lot of classic kill techniques. You had some pretty interesting ones. We actually do have one kill in this movie. Did get nominated, and this is kind of news. I haven't said anything about this yet, but we're gonna have at the end of the year, I'm gonna go through all the movies that I watched, and we're gonna pick. We're gonna do the Emmys, so the Missed Mark Awards, not the Emmys, but the Emmys. And so this actually did have a scene that gets nominated for Kill of the Year. I thought it was really clever. It was not something that I have seen before. I've seen the environment in which the kill was done before, and I've seen this kill be done in different ways. Actually, sometimes more brutal than this one, but I really like the way that they did it in this one. And it's got a little something to do with pumping iron, so when you see it, you'll know. In any slasher, I think the movie is only as good as the one doing the slashing. In this case, you have Friendo the Clown. Friendo is somewhat of the mascot of the town in which the main character moves to, and more of an idea than an actual person, really, if you get down to it. And I think that, unfortunately, as the story pans out and we learn more about Friendo and we learn more about the particular incarnation of Friendo, I think that actually ends up hurting the idea of Friendo a little bit. I think this is a situation where the idea of Friendo was actually a little bit more powerful than the actual existence of Friendo. And that can be course corrected in the other two. I don't know how they go. I haven't read the books yet, but we'll see how it goes, and maybe it could be a little bit stronger. I do think that that's going to be something, to me, that ultimately keeps Friendo out of your Mount Rushmore of horror slashers and icons. I think the potential's all the way there. I love the look of the clown, the costume design. It's not derivative of other killer clowns that we've seen before. It's fresh, it's powerful, it's intimidating. I love the idea of Friendo, just didn't love the execution. You could complicate it all you want, but at the end of the day, it's actually pretty simple. If you want to sit down for an hour and a half and watch a clown chase some kids around and kill plenty of them, then this is going to be a movie you want to go see. For me, I love watching a clown kill these children, so it was something that I enjoyed, and it was something I would watch again. Not necessarily something I feel like I'm going to watch over and over again, but every once in a while, I could see myself on Halloween, having a little view party for Clown in the Cornfield, and especially if the sequels end up delivering, then I think we have some room for... We've established a little bit of legacy, but we've also left some room for improvement. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what we do with the sequels if it gets some, as there are, as I mentioned, 3 books total in the series at the moment. And who knows? I haven't read either of the other 2, so maybe Adam Caesar's going to write even more, and we could potentially keep this thing going even further. When it comes to the negatives of the movie, I kind of salt and peppered some of the negatives in there already, but I do want to note this one might be a little bit more for them teeny boppers. This has kind of got that stick it to the man, we hate kids hate the adults kind of thing. And I'm in my 30s, dude. I felt a little aged out about halfway through. I was kind of like, oh, I'm not the target here, am I? I don't think I'm the target. I'm not. No, I can't be. And I'm not. That's okay. I'm fine with not being the target. I'm not the mark. in this sense. But I'm not a missed mark either, because it was enjoyable, as long as I said you can kind of put that to the side and just watch from that third person point of view. The only thing I did have trouble enjoying, and this wasn't any fault of the movie, this was my own fault. The other day, my gizzard gave out on me, and I've had to wean off coffee as of recently because of my insides being in a mess. And unfortunately, the timing of everything has worked out that I had a bitch of a caffeine withdrawal headache right about 45 minutes into the movie. It started to hit me. And so it wasn't something that made me kind of look forward to the end of the movie, but it was something that made me appreciate that it was only an hour and a half runtime. And that Regal didn't show 20 minutes of previews for this one either. I don't know if that was because it was an early screening, but I've gotten in a little bit of a habit of knowing, like, okay, if I don't get to the movie right at 7, I'm okay. I got until 7:20 to get seated in the theater. That was not the case this time. This one started right at 7 on the dot, and there were several people in my theater that did not know that was going to be the case. And with this being a young adult novel adaptation and it being more towards the children, there was some younger people in the theater. Kind of wanted to join Friendo and slaughter some of them because they just don't know how to be in a movie theater. I don't know what happened. My generation, we never did that. We were always kind and courteous. So I don't know how the kids that we raised don't know that, but do better. Just do better. Parents, do better. Children, do better. Don't talk, don't giggle in the theater. It's one thing if everybody's doing it, in a moment. That's one thing. We all have those times. Like, there's times and place for it. But when it's just through the whole movie and you're giggling the whole time and people can't just sit and watch the fucking movie, you're gonna wind up getting stabbed with a pitchfork. That's just what it is, man. I don't know what to tell you. Speaking of consequences for your actions, that is one of the things that I do think the movie did not do very well. Ultimately, I thought that the ending was a bit too happy for this type of movie. Typically, in a slasher film, there's a little bit more of a tragedy laced into the ending. You kind of feel the weight that the movie has taken, and there's certainly a weight to be had on the town. I mean, there's a clown in a cornfield going around killing children for the movie. I mean, and that's not a spoiler. That's literally what the premise of the movie is. Clown in cornfield kills children. And I don't really feel like we felt the weight of any of those deaths. I don't feel like, where's the mourning? Where's any of this? Like, there's nothing. There's just no consequence for the events of the movie. And I do think that hurts it a little bit. I just would have loved to have seen the ending have a little bit more of a dramatized weight to it. And I hate to reuse the word, but I just can't think of a better word to sum it up. There needs to be more of a weight to the impact of the consequences for what happened in the movie. I mean, I can't really detail it any better without going into spoiler territory, and I really would like to, but one of the things I don't want to do on this channel is ever talk about spoilers. It's not for me. Now then, let's talk about rating. Definitely not a casualty here. This was enjoyable. Definitely not missed the target. However, also not going to be giving this one a bullseye either. So I'm down between either missed the mark or outer edge. And I think if we would have had a little bit more of an impactful ending, and maybe if Friendo had a little bit more of that oomph to the actual character itself doing the dirty work, then we'd be looking at a missed mark. But unfortunately, this one had a few things that I think really needed to be improved on to make it a great movie. Good movie? Absolutely. Rewatchable? Absolutely. Should you go see it? Yes. Is it going to be the horror icon of the year? I don't think so at this moment in time, but I could be wrong. Who knows? But until they prove me wrong, I'm going to be going with Outer Edge for this one. And don't get me wrong, that is by no means a loss for Friendo. I have had plenty of movies that I have really enjoyed, and I've considered those to be an Outer Edge on this rating scale. So, Friendo's not done yet. Friendo's not done yet. And I think the real fault of this movie comes down to the reveal of Friendo. I think it did it better than other movies that have done this, but I don't think it did. I just don't think there was enough recovery. If you're wondering, how do I know, Billy Joe, if this movie is right for me? Well, I got you covered. If you are younger, talking maybe about 25 25 and below, go see it. You're going to love it. If you're 25 below and you're into slasher horror, go see this movie. I don't think you're going to have a single problem with it. Now, for those of you folks that may be either my age or above, especially 40 plus, that you've kind of been there, done that, you've seen your slashers, you know what you like, this one might be a miss for you. You might be okay with it, but it might be a miss. And keep in mind, like I said, there's kind of that angst element in there that does make it a little bit hard for folks like us to kind of connect to it. Or not necessarily does, but it could. It could make it a little bit harder for us to connect to it. But I definitely felt pretty disconnected from the kids in this movie. And it's one of those, as a 30-some-year-old, it's one of the moments that makes me realize I am, in fact, getting old. If you're a fan of the more comedy-based horror movies where the kills are a little bit less graphic, still graphic, don't get me wrong, this movie's rated R, but not quite intense, graphic, oh my gosh, I'm gonna vomit kills. If you're cool with that kind of laughable, they're telling jokes as they're dying, and that's something that you can sit down and have fun with, I can, then go see this movie. This is gonna be for you. But if you're somebody that you want that deep, disturbing, what the fuck did I just watch kill scene, this one's not gonna scratch that itch for you. I'm just gonna tell you right now. There are some good quality kills in this one. They're fun, they're quick, they don't go over the top on the gore, but they are enjoyable to me personally. I kind of like that, and I found myself laughing at one of the particular moments when there was a joke told literally as a character is dying, and I was totally fine with that because the movie does not take itself too seriously. The kills don't take themselves too seriously. The plot doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not supposed to be that kind of movie. It does what it does, and it does it well. But with that being said, if you're somebody that if the movie doesn't have this nice, really hefty meaning to it, and a really quality, above average plot that just kind of leaves you thinking or scratching your head about what's going to happen, this might be a pass for you. But as for Billy Joe, like I said, we're going to go with The Outer Edge. This is a movie that I did enjoy. I do not regret watching it. I'm glad I went to the early release and supported the theatrical run, and I think you should as well. I really think that you should. I think it's good to see new faces of horror. Not every movie's got to be the best one ever. That's just what it is. Was this really good movie? Fun time? Had a good time watching? Absolutely. Will I watch it again? Yes, I will. Just note, like I said, I think I mentioned this earlier, it is a young adult movie. All right? There's going to be some kids in that theater probably, and you may want to pick up a pitchfork and join Friendo. Remember that unlike in this movie, there are consequences for killing children, and I do not endorse that in any way.